Listen, the draft is about to start. We are going to get into it right now. Hopefully, there's the ADP
they
is so
changed
much
their
different on here.
colors.
Yeah, the ADP is crazy on here. Hey, I got to turn off the sound on here too. I remember. All right, we drafting in the minutes. Knock out the rest of these questions. Jahan, when we going on sleeper? Does anybody else want anything besides sleeper? If y'all want that, let us know. Otherwise, we can do the next one on sleeper. I ain't tripping.
This whole 2 wide receiver thing is just it just pisses
league
me
settings.
off.
League settings. So now, what's your ideal league settings? Like, I know I'm a 3 receiver guy, flex guy. I like super flex. I can talk about mine in a second. Tyler, what's your ideal draft settings?
Ideal. If I was starting a brand new league, I'd probably do like 3 wide receivers, super flex. But like I'm fine. The one thing 12, like preferably 12. The one thing I just don't like is defense and kicker. Like I don't
get rid of those.
Yeah.
At the very least.
Hold on. What about standard, half point, and then full PPR? Which one?
I like full.
Yeah. I would go the same thing, right? Super flex, 3 wide, an additional flex, 12, full PPR. But I'll also throw this in here too, man. I love me some auction drafts, baby. Some auction drafts.
I feel like auction should be the standard. The draft is just so long, but auction should be the standard. All right, we're here at the draft.
I was the first pick. Let's go.
You had number 1. You're the first pick overall?
Yeah. I didn't pick it, so does it just put you in a different spot?
Wait, what? I thought you were number 2 pick.
I was first. 2. Okay. I was
Saquon.
Yeah.
Did I pick 2 or does it randomize you once you actually get into
I picked 5.
Yeah, I can tell you got your sound on.
Let's go.
What's the priority on QB and a tight end in 14-man, 2 wide receiver PPR leagues? Listen, I think if you can get elite tight end in that league, that's maybe I'll go a little bit higher on like a Trey McBride than normal. But I think quarterback and tight end, because in a 14-team league, it dries up a little bit quicker. I would make tight end a little bit more priority. Only the highest end tight ends, personally. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Well, do you think that there are like definite like how many tight ends would you consider like upper echelon, like shoulders above the rest? I really don't think that number is as, you know what I'm saying? Like in the past years, I think that there's a cluster, maybe like 3, 4 tight ends in there. Yeah. Who are your 3?
My 3, I'm gonna go ahead.
I'd say Kittle, Bowers, and McBride.
Yeah, those are the 3. I think McBride's the one I would want. Kittle at the cost, but I think in 14-team league you might have to reach on him a little harder.
Kittle's right now. I think Kittle. I would also potentially say Laporta, because I do think Laporta finished the season really well last year, and he got hurt. Was it the high ankle or just a regular ankle in the beginning of the season? Like
I can't remember.
Second week. So, and like you see it all the time with those kind of guys, like they get banged up. They just take a while to fully get back up to speed, and I think he finished the season really well. And like that should be one of the best offenses in the league, but definitely the top 3 though. And he's going the latest out of them, like 6th, 7th round, so it's not even that bad.
And I think quarterback, maybe not priority early, but I think I would be willing to take a quarterback a little bit earlier than I normally would in a 12-team league. Like, because there just won't be as many available quarterbacks this year.
The 12-team or in a 14-team?
In a 14-team, excuse me.
And I would like the only 2 guys I'd prefer just like Lamar and Josh. Otherwise, I'd probably just, especially like the middle. I'm like that in like every league though. Like Baker Mayfield goes in like the 7th round now. Like no thanks. I think he's just coming off a massive season that I just want no part of. I would not be shocked if Dak Prescott outscores him and he's going like, 5, 6, 7 rounds later. Like, no thanks. So there's like, I would skip out on that. Even like Joe Burrow. Like, I know Joe Burrow is great, but like You got to take him in the 5th round now. I no thanks on that too.
How I'd play, like, honestly, if it's 14-team league, because you don't want to be the guy that takes one quarterback and then having to find, Daniel Jones and Joe Flacco, and you don't want to be doing that right at the end of your draft. So what I would do is just wait on the quarterback position until you feel like you have enough depth, and then you're going for those guys who have top 5 potential. We talked about Justin Fields at length, but I think even more so, there's 3 quarterbacks who we know are perennial top 10 quarterbacks that are being drafted outside of the top 12 right now. That's Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, and one of my favorites, Jordan Love. And I think that's one of the things. You can find 2 of those guys and pair them up together, and you're probably going to have at least a top 10 quarterback. Like Purdy, even without Ayuk, is probably going to be a top 10 to 12 quarterback. Dak Prescott, with the George Pickens edition, probably going to be a top 10 to 12 guy if he doesn't get hurt. Jordan Love, same thing. Before his injuries last year, played at a really high clip. He was dealing with injuries throughout the early part of the season. I think we see them improve. They drafted a receiver in the 1st round. So I kind of like all 3 of those guys as like locked in top 12. We just don't know which one it's going to be or where they're going to finish.
James Cook goes really early over here.
Way early. Well, there's a bunch
like
of players that go early.
23rd.
Yo, if you're on ESPN, there's one player I have literally no clue how he goes so low. And I'll scroll all the way down to these 40s, bro. Where is he at?
44.
44, bro, is wild. Wild. I'm like, I just don't know how, dude. I think Garrett Wilson.
Was that the dude you were talking about?
Yeah, I was looking for Garrett Wilson, but I think they might have adjusted him already. Garrett Wilson was going super low. Marvin, this 42 is crazy.
Yeah, Garrett Wilson just went.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And as far as hierarchies go when it comes to like drafting or leagues, I think ESPN is towards the bottom for you, boy. It's not, you know what I'm saying?
Like ESPN.
What about ESPN? What about NFL fantasy?
Oh, I forgot about that one.
I've never used it.
Do not. Just don't.
Don't.
That's literally the worst.
Yeah.
Hey, we should do one on there for fun. We should do one on there for fun. Not today, but we should do one on there for sure for fun.
You know what I've always thought was really interesting, and I've always wanted to do this. Like, have you ever used Fantrax?
No, I haven't.
I feel like I've said this before, but Fantrax has a category league for fantasy football. I feel like that would be interesting to try that out. You got your roto leagues for, basketball, hockey, and baseball. So it'd be interesting to see what it'd be like on football. I don't even know what the categories would be, but it would just be such a unique thing that it would be interesting to see how it all works out.
Yeah, so like you're just playing like, did I win passing yards or did I win rush yards or did I win receiving yards? That is
like I don't know how. And then what? Maybe like turnovers would be a category.
Yeah,
I don't know how it would all work out.
Fumbles,
yeah, like fumbles and even interceptions probably. Maybe
and the worst thing would be like if you had a wide receiver pass and they threw an interception. You're like,
oh yeah, that's awful.
Damn.
That's kind of that's the setup we had in fantasy basketball, right?
Yeah, same thing. It would be like basically categories instead. But I think for fantasy hoop, it's easier because there's so many categories.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I have no idea what it would be, but it'd just be fun to try it for 1 year and see what it's like. And just see what the categories are. I'm interested to see. I don't even know what the categories would be.
Yeah. We will have to let's try that out. We'll do a day of like just random. We'll do like Yahoo. We'll do NFL fantasy, Fantrax. We can
NFL fantasy. It is interesting to see the ADPs though. That is to see where all these people are ranked, where they're going.
Boy, these teams, man. All right, a couple questions from the chat that came in. What's good, Jay Aguirre? What up, Jayhan? Long time, glad you're back. Work schedule has me not able to make a lot of the mocks. It's all good, man. We're gonna be mocking all summer long. P might be onto something talking about the Najee. I think he was talking about Najee, P, when you was roasting me for Najee, bro.
Yeah.
How are you feeling about Chris Godwin this year? I like Chris Godwin, and I feel like his price is very appropriate. I've been taking a lot of him because he slips, man. in these drafts, he'll slip because people are concerned about the injury. But if he's there week 1, maybe he's not what he was last year, but last year he was like a top 5 guy on a per game basis. So I'm not expecting that. But if he plays week 1, I mean, he plays out the slot. So as long as he's 80% of what he was, we're talking about a top 15-ish, 20-ish receiver. So I like Godwin. I just want to see what it looks like over the summer, personally.
You know what they're talking about? I know this is just kind of, it could be just camp fodder, but Emeka, that rookie over there, he's looking good. I didn't want to put your name, but
when it comes to names, I'm like, I know he was struggling with that one.
I was like, Okafor? Nah, that ain't it. Nah, but nah, man, he's gonna target hard, bro.
Hey, that first word, he was like Emeka. I was like, oh no, he gonna struggle with this.
Yeah,
one,
I said, you know what? That first round draft pick they got over there, man.
Who we doing? What are we doing in this one? Trade away Josh Jacobs, Xavier Worthy to acquire T. Higgins and James Cook. The team is long. We know. Just real quick on the trade: Josh Jacobs and Xavier Worthy for T. Higgins and James Cook.
I'm gonna tell you like this: T. Higgins is a P guy. I'd like to draft him a lot. I do feel that I wouldn't do that deal. I think the Josh Jacobs deal is a little bit better. A few factors go into it. I do. I really do. The camp around James Cook just doesn't, it's not as promising.
And this is half point just for the record. It's half point just for the record.
Yeah, I think that I think Higgins is being sold at his ceiling. A quick stat is on a points per game basis last year, I think he was top 10 wide receiver on a points per game basis. He's never going to give you a full season, but when he does shine, it's going to be dope. I just think the value in Josh Jacobs is a lot stronger, and we haven't seen the ceiling of Xavier yet, and that could be promising. So, last year T. Higgins is obviously playing for a contract. He's got that contract now, so I don't know. I think I'm staying put.
Staying put. And we got to tell him what kind of watch that is too, bro. He was flexing the watch, obviously. What's y'all take on James Cook? Are you guys drafting him over guys like Mixon, Kamara, K9, or Chuba? So listen, I think James Cook is a good running back who had a lot of touchdowns last year. For me, just the threat of Josh Allen sometimes keeps me away from drafting him over, Mixon, Kamara. That's about it, because I think I would take him over K9. I would take him over Chuba. But for me, I think James Cook, a lot of his value was tied into the touchdowns last year. So I don't know. And he's a little bit risky coming into camp, a little upset. I don't know. I'm not as high on him maybe as I should be after the season he had last year. I don't know how y'all feeling about James Cook, man.
I don't mind him for where he's going.
Yeah,
I think it's fine. I mean, he's attached. He might be mad that the contract's not there, and maybe he doesn't get it, but I think he'll play this year. And he's attached to, I believe the Bills were the highest scoring offense in the NFL last year. So it's an elite offense. Yeah, the touchdowns were fluky, but that's just a product of even Josh Allen. I want to say had at the very least 10 rushing touchdowns last year. So Josh is going to get his. He can still get his. Yeah, I think he's fine.
Yeah, I think I think he's gonna outproduce where he's kind of getting drafted at. I think the value still is there, but it's just uncertainty with him. They were sprinkling other running backs there. Josh Allen's on this goal line there, so and then he's coming in disgruntled. And the last player that was disgruntled with the Buffalo Bills got his ass traded in Stephon Diggs. So. You know what I'm saying? It's like they're going with this whole team mantra, team mentality. You know what I mean? And if you ain't fitting in, then we could find somebody else.
Yeah, Ray Davis was coming on. It was Ray Davis, Ty Johnson. They didn't really even care who they were using in the backfield towards the end of last year.
And there's a comment on the watch. That's a Tudor Panda chronograph for those listening.
Tudor Ruda Fruta. Jahan, thoughts on Chase Brown? Haven't heard you talk about him a lot. I'm not big on him. Want to hear your thoughts. I think Chase Brown is a good back and a good offense. I don't think he's great though, and so I'd rather have the great talent over the great situation sometimes. And he kind of reminds me of like Pacheco, when Pacheco was going super early, and I think he was a value. He's probably going to outplay where I have him ranked. He's probably going to be in a high-end RB2, back in RB1. I just don't find myself taking a lot of Chase Brown because I'd rather have a mix in Kamara, and then there's a couple of receivers that go in that range. So I think good player, just bad range for where I typically take players. I got him a little bit lower than his current ADP is right now, personally. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's a top 12 guy, though.
I have him around 12, yeah.
You got him at 12?
I think he's at 10, 11, somewhere around there.
That's high.
I don't think so. I think Chase Brown is,
once he was a running back last year. Like I know you might say Pacheco, but like I think he's better than Pacheco in real life. And also, like he produced at a much higher clip than what Pacheco's ever produced when he had the starting gig. Like he was a top, I want to say he was RB4, averaging over 20 fantasy points per game when he actually became the starter. So like, and they didn't really do anything to adjust the running back room. So it just leads me to believe like, all right, Chase Brown was good enough. We got holes elsewhere. We need to plug those holes before we even worry about the running back. Like he was fine. So let's just run it back with him. So
I just think I'm concerned about a full season of Chase Brown because we saw him like, they were splitting work at him and Zach Moss were splitting work early, and I don't think Zach Moss is good, but like Chase Brown really don't have a frame. He kind of has like that Jalen Warren-esque frame to me, where like I don't know if he stands up the whole year. So I don't know. I could be 1,000% wrong on Chase Brown this year. I just find myself not and I would, like I said, you guys are talking about top 10, like that's over Alvin Kamara, that's over Joe Mixon, that's over some of these higher end players. I'm just like, I don't see it.
I would take him over Alvin Kamara. I would take him over Mixon. Easily. I think it's like, he's going to be one of those backs that are slept on a little bit, but on a points per game basis, just based off the offense that he's in and the fact that they don't have a defense, they're going to have to put up points. You know what I'm saying? So he's going to be, he's going to get a ton of work, I think. And you know what I mean? Like I would put him even higher, probably like anywhere between 8 to 10.
And it's not like he was, it's not like he was like Travis Etienne last year, where it's like Travis Etienne that year that he had like was RB3 in the season. The back half of the season, he just like fell apart and the yards per carry, everything took a dive. Like Chase Brown was good. Like he was actually good last year. He's putting up good numbers across the board, like efficient numbers too. It's not like he was bad. Like he was good.
That's the same thing. That's literally the same thing, though, Tyler. It's you had a good stretch of games. We didn't see it for a whole season, so it ended up being a good thing in general, right? We saw Chase Brown have a nice finish to the season because he had a great stretch, but we haven't seen him hold up for 16, 17 games as the guy. That's a different role. Efficiency comes down. We saw with Travis Etienne, they give him the ball at the beginning of the year. You become a different player.
The one pushback that I'll say is that, like, historically, when players come into the NFL, and when you look at players when they're coming into the NFL and you're trying to make the assessment, can they be workhorse backs? Well, the best thing to do is go back in college and look at where they workhorse backs in college. Because if they weren't, 9 times out of 10, these guys don't translate to becoming every down backs in the NFL. They have, and he was in college. Like his entire time in college, I want to say he led the country. He had over 350 carries his last year in college, not even receptions, and like 60 receptions his final year in college. Like he's been a workhorse back in college and has held up. So for me personally, like they were like, see you, Joe Mixon. We'll run with Chase Brown and for the time being, much cheaper. Like I think that they just have said it, like personally, like they haven't said it, but their actions speak louder than the words.
Right. I don't know. I'm there with. I hear y'all. I don't typically take them in that range. It is what it is. It is what it is. Are we going to sleeper today, Jay Hen? We can go sleeper right after this. Right after this.
Yeah, I didn't realize I didn't take a running back early. I thought I took a running back earlier, but I guess I didn't.
When I'm in between picks, I'll go to the board next time. Sonny G, what's popping? Appreciate you, man.
Do they have like a draft board? Can you put that
They
up?
do. They do have a board. You push it. It's right here where it says players, pick history board. After my pick, I'll go right there.
Oh boy, I didn't. I should have been paying
Yeah.
attention to that.
I kind of butchered this draft a little bit because I was like, it seemed like every time I'm talking, it's my pick. But
that's by design.
Yeah.
I'll be like, hey, P.
I know, dog. You always trying to sabotage me, man. I'm just trying to get my practice in, bro.
Trade away Chase Brown, Walker, and Charbonnet for Brees Hall and Pollard. Say that one more time.
Nice.
Chase Brown, Walker, and Charbonnet first. So Charbonnet's not really a thought to me in this deal.
So it's like Chase Brown in the Seahawks backfield for Brees Hall and Tony Pollard.
I think it's a wash.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a wash. I probably wouldn't. I mean, I think the best like talent in that trade is Brees Hall, but you could argue he probably has like this year the same upside as like a Chase Brown, maybe.
So, like, do you have Chase Brown ranked over Brees Hall, or do you have Brees Hall ranked over Chase?
I think it's he's like 2 spots ahead of, or Chase Brown's 2 spots ahead of Brees Hall in my rankings. I believe he's like Brees is RB 12 or 13 for me.
Yes,
so it's close.
I got Brees higher than Chase Brown,
but I much rather have, in my opinion, Kenneth Walker than Tony Pollard.
100%. But I think that's where.
Yeah. But like Jay, that's interesting that you say that because, we don't know what the Jets' offense is going to look like, but you do know what Cincy's going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
So Cincy is always going to be on point with like we'll say like a top 7 offense, right? Brees may be more talented, but are you just yielding to the talent versus this actual situation and how that person fits in that scheme?
So yes, for a lot of it, yes, because I think talent a lot of times prevails in fantasy. I think we look at situations so much and you devalue situation a lot of times. And most of the time when that happens, it doesn't always work out, right? So like, for instance.
Wait, say that again. Most of the time it works. Okay.
Most of the time, I think everybody tries to say, so I think people try to say talent, right? Like is different than situation. That there are 2 different things. But what I think people do with talent sometimes is they say, oh, it's in a bad situation, it's not going to perform, right? So Alvin Kamara this year, he's getting downgraded because Tyler Shook is the quarterback, because there's been a coaching change, because Derek Carr's not there anymore. I still believe Alvin Kamara, who has proven no matter who is his quarterback, no matter who's on this team, has been an elite top 15 guy. I still think he produces at that level. That's what I'm saying. I don't always think that. And you're going basically more off the situation where Chase Brown is in an elite situation. I think that's good, but I don't really see the pure upside like I do with the Brees Hall. So I will take talent guys, especially early on in the draft, more often than guys that are just in really good situations, if that makes sense. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I disagree, though, 100%. I think very rarely is like if you're in a talent, and, again, we don't know where this Jets offense is going to rank. But if you're on a bad offense and you're talented at the running backs position specifically, more often than not, you're not, that's going to stunt your ceiling, right? I think one of the only ones, or there's maybe a few, but the Ram situation was like an outlier, right? With Todd Gurley and them being just a terrible offense, but him just performing crazy. Whereas you got players that are on great offenses, but talent is not there. You see more consistency and even high output, like Kyron Williams, right? Like Kyron is a good situation. Not the most talented back, small, slow, but opportunity is going to be there, right? Lanes are going to be there. And that scheme fits him well. So I would even compare his situation and probably put it up against Brees Hall's. And Chase Brown, for me, is even better than that. So,
but we look at 2 years ago, same thing, right? Brees Hall was playing with Zach Wilson and finishes the RB2. So it's not like, what I'm saying? You can't just be like situationals.
Well, the one problem
is trash, and so he's not going to perform. It's like, I don't know.
No, I'm not saying he's not going to perform. I'm saying his ceiling is extremely scented. And with Zach Wilson, he was like a dump off king. If I'm remembering
that's
correctly.
the biggest problem in my opinion, for Brees Hall. And like somebody said in chat, is just the receptions. Like the reason why Brees Hall had such a good season that year, I want to say he was first in receptions for the running back, or at least like.
Yeah, I think he was. I think he was.
Like he had I want to say 76 receptions that year. Like he was had so many receptions. And I just don't know if that's like if they go in with Fields, like I don't know if that is like he's going to come anywhere close to that. Like what kind of reception upside are we looking at? Like that's going to be the biggest thing in my opinion that hold back Brees Hall. And the other thing potentially is like, are they going to use a three-headed backfield? I don't think they're going to do that. But one thing that I could maybe see them do is like Brees Hall gets subbed out in the red zone around the goal line. And then it's, Braylon Allen, who's their, goal line back on top of Justin Fields with the QB powers, like that could hurt the touchdown upside on top of, what P's already talking about. Like, is this offense even going to be good? Like, what if it's a dog shit offense? So they're not even in the red zone on top of having those other factors. Like, I believe in Brees Hall's talent. And when I draft fantasy football, a lot of times I draft on talent more than situation. And I think Brees Hall is a really talented running back. But that's the thing is like on sleeper, you don't have to really take Brees. I guess maybe you will, but Brees goes later than Chase Brown. So it's like, I don't know. It's not as bad. But I don't know.
I think talent prevails more often, especially like when you're going for fantasy championships. I think your team will look better if you go situation. But I think when it gets down to fantasy championships and you want to have guys who are outliers or guys who can potentially be difference makers for your lineup, I try to get as many of those players as I can. And I feel like that tends to lead to more championships than not in my years of playing. Like having those guys. And P, I think you can attest to this. Having those guys when they break out and they're elite and they're outliers, that makes all the difference at the end of the year, And I think that's where I missed last year on like a guy like Malik Neighbors. I think I seen that in the chat. Somebody said that he wasn't consistent. It's not about was he consistent. He finished as he was elite last year, and it didn't matter. It was the talent prevailed over the situation.
How was he consistent?
So. No, Malik was mad consistent. Like he was a target hog.
It says somebody said he wasn't consistent. I think he got hurt and he was a little banged up.
He had that concussion or something.
Yeah, he got banged up in the year. So,
yeah, Malik was mad consistent. But Jay, we've been playing it with each other. We've been playing fantasy. Oh my god,
that's crazy, bro.
We've been playing fantasy together, fantasy football for a long time, and I feel you when you say, you know what I mean, like entering the playoffs. You want one of the scariest looking teams because those, that correlates with fucking production, right?
Yeah.
But I think that, and this could be a Brees Hall thing for me. He's just somebody I'm not thrilled about drafting. If he falls to a certain point, I'll get him. But situations just honestly, you know what I mean? Like it's an outlier if you're like a stud for the running back position. It's an outlier if you're a stud on a shitty offense.
I think situation makes it safe. I think situation makes it you're like, okay, I know what to expect. And I know I'm guaranteed this kind of production. Whereas I think talent on a bad team, you're kind of gambling a little bit. And I think that's where I'm more of a gambler than most people are.
The one thing with running backs too is like, I wouldn't even say running backs have to be super talented to be good for fantasy. Like you just have to know when the the biggest thing for running backs in fantasy football, and it makes running backs really easy. I don't want to say easy because injuries are always a part of fantasy, but like on a weekly basis, it's just so easy to know, okay, hey, all the guys are hurt. This guy's the starting running back. Like he's going to see all the touches. All right. He's probably going to be an RB2 this week. And then when you have a situation with like, we keep talking about Chase Brown, but like Chase Brown is the guy. Yes, it does make it safe where he's the guy. There's really nobody else there. Maybe the upside isn't as high as Brees Hall if Brees Hall was on this offense, but he's not on this offense. So it's like, but a situation for running backs, I think is way more important than like situations for, I don't even want to say that for wide receivers, but like it just makes knowing when to play the running backs extremely easy. But like Chase Brown, I would even say though, like situation, I even think he's like, he's not as talented as Brees Hall, but I don't think he's like Zach Moss.
No, he's better.
not
than
fucking
Zach.
trash.
No, he's not Zach Moss.
Yeah,
No,
like
yeah,
he's
like
he's
Jalen Warren.
a running back. I think
No,
Pete
he's-
said it
he's
perfectly.
better
I
than
think he's
Jalen
kind of
Warren.
like I think he's better than Kyron in football, but like in
I don't know
Kyron,
about that, bro.
I
I
don't
think
think
Kyron's better.
Kyron has been very good for like real life football. When you go and look at like the analytical part of
yeah.
Kyron, he's not very good. He just is in a really good system on a very good offense. And I think that's at the worst, that's Chase Brown. He could be Kyron Williams just on a really good situation, really good offense, top 12 numbers. That's what you're looking at. But anyways,
Yeah.
my team sucks. I'll say that.
I said my team.
Bro,
sucks.
I was just thinking that. I'm like, bro, you know what I mean?
My
Because you
team's
start
lit.
talking, and then you hear like, beep, beep, you just like, fuck,
Well,
I gotta pick
I
something
didn't
now.
realize, like I said, I didn't realize I didn't take a run. Like I should have had the board up, which I'll know for next time. I'll have this board up because I was just really looking at. I wasn't even really looking at my roster on the left.
Yeah, I do
just
not
never
like the
drafted.
setup. This is ESPN's setup is
Yeah,
not very
I don't.
good, bro.
I've never
Especially-
been a
I
big
think-
fan of ESPN.
I'll say if we did run it back on here, I'd probably kill it because I feel like I understand it now.
Oh, you think you lethal shooter, huh?
I understand it now.
Jahan, thoughts on the finals? I think this was a great finals, man. It was a great finals, and I think it had two markets that were underserved, obviously, or the ones that you can't market, small market teams. I think honestly, this was a great finals to see. I think the OKC Thunder deserved it, and they're going to be set up for a long time. And the Pacers are a better team than everybody thought. They're deep, and I feel like this was a competitive series. Unfortunately, I think Tyrese Halliburton. That was kind of just the ship made the whole thing sink for the Pacers, and that team's going to be back. It's not going to be next year, but they'll be back at some point. And I want to see Tyrese Halliburton get another chance, man, because he's a special player. I think he's a special player, man. It sucks to see him go through injury.
Yeah. No, that was a dope ass finals. That first game was crazy. That comeback win, bro. That was dope. The series was back and forth. It was like when one team had an edge, the other one just came back. Like the Pacers are crazy scrappy. Had a bunch of guys that were just making it happen. McConnell out there,
yeah, dropping 20.
Just you know what I mean? Like it was dope, and just all these bunch of surprise 3-point shooters out of nowhere, hitting it in the clutch. It was a dope series. And it was crazy because there's like no huge names outside of like Shea. No huge names that we're accustomed to seeing in the finals.
Yeah, seeing like Jay Will get his shine, and Chet defensively in Game 7 went crazy. Like, and then even on the other side, like Pascal Siakam was damn near in line to win the Finals MVP. So, and had a crazy dunk and eyes rolling back of his head. But
that black magic, man.
Black magic.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Have y'all heard any news on CMC? From what I've seen, everything's been copacetic. What about y'all?
I've seen he's fine.
No news is good news, baby. No news is good news.
I don't think the
gonna get
tendonitis
all
is
you can
something
eat.
that like lingers. I think he's like you're good once you recover
Yeah,
from
I
it.
think he's good.
And then he had that knee injury, but that was I don't even think was it just a sprain or something? I don't remember what it was. It's not like he had to get like surgery.
Yeah, it's like an MCL type thing. And it was like, we're already out of it. So why continue to try and rush him back? So now I think he's good. And I think he's criminally underdrafted.
I agree.
Not mad at that. I'm definitely taking him in the second round, though. I don't like taking him in the first round. I feel like there's too many question marks for taking him in the first. So, older back. He's only had 4 healthy seasons his entire year. The other 4, he's been hurt. So I just think for my first round pick, I'd rather get something a little bit more secure. I know he has the RB1 upside, especially in the Niner offense. The schedule's pretty easy. I'm just staying away. Just with some of the stuff I saw last year, injury-wise, the way that the Niners kind of kept coy about injuries, I don't know. I just kind of feel like if Trent, needs to miss time or this offense has a hiccup in any form or fashion, I'm just kind of out on CMC. I don't trust it. I just feel like there's other guys in the first round that you could take that have way less question marks. So if he falls to me in the second, good. If not, it is what it is. But I haven't heard, like you said, no news is good news, P.
CMC is not good. What?
Who said that?
Yeah.
Tyler Griffin.
Yeah.
Tyler,
also said,
Tyler never know what he's talking about.
Listen, he also said that injury lingers based on the fantasy doctors. Listen, I like the fantasy doctors. I think they do a pretty good job. But the fantasy doctors are also massive gaslighters. Like those dudes gaslight the fuck out of players sometimes and their injuries. And like I'm sorry, but they kind of do it for clicks a little bit, and I understand. But they gaslight the fuck out of this. Like I've seen other fantasy doctors who are just as reputable as those guys say they're like no lingering effects. So I'm not trying to say that these guys don't know what they're talking about because they do. They're way more credible than me in terms of injuries.
Yeah.
But I've seen them a lot of times gaslight.
It's like the actual doctors. It's like the actual doctors. Like, oh my gosh, you need to take all these pills. I'm like, bro, I just need to rest for a minute, man. I'm dying.
Like,
you know me, like. Oh
so I wouldn't. I would listen to what they say a lot, but at the same time, just take it with a grain of salt.
It's like I think the doctors is good but it's like the weather. You know what I'm saying? Shit changes and not everything is absolute. And I think until you're the doctor that actually performs the work on them, you really can't say a whole lot. So I think it's good to get insight though from fantasy doctors and hear about, you know, conditions and what typically things happen like with this certain type of injury. I like hearing that kind of stuff. Now, am I going to bank everything on that information? Absolutely not. There's been times where they'll be like, oh, they're probably going to miss 4 or 5 weeks, and they end up playing the same week and performing at normal level. And I'm like, it's annoying. But
I feel like Jonathan Taylor does that all the time. High ankle sprain, he misses 1 week, comes in, 17 fantasy
80.
points. Yeah, I'm like, okay, you built different.
All right, next we'll go on sleeper, man. We got kickers and defenses. Last 2 picks left. I don't know who already has a kicker and defense. I'm waiting on kickers and defense. But we'll get another draft going. How many teams y'all want to do in the next one?
12.
12? Superflex?
Superflex.
What are the chat ones?
What is the chat one, man? Anything super specific before I make this thing, bro? Anything super specific?
CMC draft news during the draft last season was crazy. It was crazy. It was bullshit is what it was. It wasn't even crazy. The Niners downplayed that situation. And then the bullshit that happened with the Jordan Mason when he said what he said, that was such bullshit. And then they made him fucking cry during the interviews because they probably
like legit
just reamed him out. Like that was such shitty. Like that's why I've learned my lesson now for the past 2 years with like I learned my lesson with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow the year prior when he had that calf strain heading into the season, he was not himself for like finally he started being himself in that game that he, you know, had the torn ligament in his wrist. But like prior to that, my God, he was fucking ass along with that whole offense because he couldn't move. So like I learned to not really trust even the Rams too. The Rams with Puka Nacua, he was not himself in the beginning of the season. Then week 1, halfway through the game, bangs up his knee, and then next thing you know, he's out for half the season too. So like, if guys are suffering lower body injuries that teams are kind of downplaying, it's hard because we don't know all this stuff. But like, I just think those they should be little asterisks on your board and should move those guys down a little bit just because the risk sometimes isn't always worth the reward with these guys in the preseason injuries because it just sets them back so far, especially late preseason injuries are just they can be killers.
Yeah. If you think if he has a small injury, you think they'll play him? I think they're going to manage his workload this year too, if I'm being real.
I think as long as they're competitive.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, do they still have a window? Like, I feel like their window is now. Or are you already looking off into the future?
Go ahead, P.
I feel like it's probably now. Like you got to try to.
No, we still got a window. It's everybody's like, oh, you gave Brock Purdy a contract. Now you got no money to pay anybody else. The funny thing is, we still are like, the way that these contracts are structured, it's like. We still got like 40 M's if we wanted to drop on somebody.
Yeah.
So I think we still got a window. You know what I mean? We got to see what's up with Ayuk if we're going to trade him, whatever he's doing, how he's acting. But as far as CMC goes, look, Shanahan is going to ride his, ride his main players as long as they're healthy. So I know we got a lot of promise, like a lot of good young running backs behind him too. We drafted a pretty good guy. We got Garendo. Pick a kicker. But whatever. But I mean, we got to put up points this year, and we got Kittle, we got Kittle, we got CMC, and then we got inexperience. So it is what it is. If you see something like that, I think it's a good formula to draft him. And I do think even with his injury concern, his injury history in the past, Jay, you mentioned that he was only healthy 4 seasons, right? I think 3 of those 4 seasons that he was healthy, he was like the number 1 fantasy player.
Yeah.
Risk reward.
So it's right there for you.
How y'all feeling about your teams, man? Obviously, we did the draft. I'm going to post a link to the sleeper mock draft here in just a second. We are all in, so let me get it up. How you guys feeling about your team so far?
I don't really like mine, but I like my wide receivers. I like my wide receivers a lot, but if I can have just one of these later running backs, like maybe Tajay Spears ends up being the guy.
Hampton and Pacheco ain't going to do it for you?
Oh, I like Amari and Hampton. Pacheco, I think it will be a solid RB2 for this season. But like if maybe Bayshall Tune ends up being the lead back, Roshan Johnson is kind of like Dave Montgomery-esque in this offense. Like I feel like I need one of those guys to hit, and then I'll be okay. But if not, then yeah. But we talked about it too. Like running backs, I don't want to say are easy, but they're easier to find on the waiver wire.
I'm just gonna be honest. Your team's ass, bro.
Hey, it ain't that bad. Let me look at it. Let's go to my team. Real quick.
Brock. No, it's not bad. Omarion, you gotta have. If Hampton hits, you be all right. DJ Moore.
Hampton's getting. I like
Hampton's
your team.
Gonna hit. I don't know why you're saying if he's gonna hit.
If he's
gonna hit. Hampton's a stud. I'm a big Hampton.
Blaze and Hampton. I don't know why, but
my team, I think I fucked up. You know what I mean? I was kind of rushing a lot of picks. I wish I would have got somebody else outside of T. Higgins there. Love the Kittle pick. And then I got rushed with Xavier Worthy, Javonte, and I got Blue right there to figure out who's really going to man that Dallas backfield.
That's going to be Miles Sanders.
Stands out.
It might be Miles.
I know, man. Fuck, man. I'm miles away.
No, I feel like it will be one of those 2 guys.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I feel like I like my squad. I didn't get I like my receivers. I feel like I wanted one more like stud type receiver, but I went tight end earlier. I don't know why I went tight end right there, but I went tight end a little earlier than I normally do. So if I feel like I'd got another receiver there, I'd have felt way better about this squad. But I feel good about this team that I got. Yeah. I like my start, the start, and especially with 2 wide receivers. I feel like with 2 wide receivers, got some good upside.
That's the difference with this is that we do a lot of drafts with 3 wide receivers. Like you got to approach it a little bit differently when it's just 2 wide receivers. I think running backs become more of a priority.
Yes.
Yeah, you got to grab 2 RBs in like the first 3 rounds. I think.
Yeah, I think it's
and
that's what But once again, ESPN,
man.
This setup is weird as fuck.